Shabbat Shalom.
And
Welcome to our home.
so this is what I'm hearing.
It's got the beat. Dave's got the beat.
Sorry.
There we
I don't think that's what y'all listening to.
That sounds like his music
Yeah,
to me.
it sounds like something that's got to be playing on to calm you down while you're in the store returning things.
Right. You're in line waiting or in the elevator.
Yeah. So
But
maybe
anyway.
maybe I have to change something in the to hear.
Yeah, so we can hear it. So we hope you're all doing
I'd rather
good tonight.
I'd rather hear Sons of Korah.
Yeah, so would I. We'll have
But
to
anyways.
catch it later on the flip
Yeah.
flop.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Well, we're going to get the evening started. Okay, got my Sabbath torch here. Okay. Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu ladlik neshel Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Okay, now we're going to do the Kiddush blessing on the bread and the wine. Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Blessed are you, Lord God, King of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth. Now on to the next part. Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam Borei Peri Hagafen. Blessed are you, Lord God, King of the universe, who brings forth the fruit of the vine.
Amen.
And I'm very excited to be able to partake in a little fruit of the vine this Sabbath. I just finished a 9-week fitness challenge, and I am tired and hungry. So I'm going to enjoy a little fruit of the vine myself tonight.
Well, and
So-
Patty is running in the Boilermaker, which is 20 for 15,000 people.
Yeah, it's a
run.
big crowd. It's
Yeah.
a big crowd. It's the first time I've ever done a real official run.
And she's doing the short one, the
Yeah,
5K.
I'm doing the short one. So
She's doing a 5K. The Boilermaker is a 15K road race, and the top runners in the world come because they give a lot of money out. And about 100,000 people will be downtown in Utica, New York.
yeah, there'll be bands and food and all kinds of good stuff.
Patty says
and-
she wants me there to cheer her on, but now I found out it can be online.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I can watch her online. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Well, you could do that if you don't want to be there. There
we have
might-
to get up at like 5 a.m.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, remember those famous words. Remember those words.
I'll just go to bed early.
No.
Okay.
No, Ronnie's asked the second time, do you do the bread and salt? I'm not sure what that means, but I mean, the Italians threw salt over their back as a superstition.
I don't think that's what Ronnie's talking about.
Do you dip the bread in salt? No, I don't, Ronnie. If you
Oh.
could explain that. Uh-huh. Oh, I got the wrong date, Julia. Thank you. That's okay. Tamar 15 is correct. Yeah.
Well, we've had company this week and a lot of things going on at work, and so it's kind of just a blur.
Yeah.
But we sure are glad to be here and to see all of you.
We 100. We've been working in Indo. I'll just say like this:
Pacific.
Indo-PACOM. So we've been talking to the Philippines and Taiwan, and trying to get some work done through the United States. So yeah, I'll correct that, Julia, before I put it up. But anyways, last week a lot of things hit us, and there wasn't going to really be a live stream to YouTube or restream to YouTube. So we didn't do it. We still had our Sabbath, but just shorter and just between Patty and I. And then Ross also has been working a lot. He's got a lot of things going on.
James too. He did a 2-hour special on the Shroud of Turin.
Okay, but I mean, this is why we didn't.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. But I'm just
Yeah, we
saying
don't
that
really-
everyone's been really busy.
No, but I mean, it was kind of good that Seth got to take that, and Ross had family up, so
Yeah,
that
they
was,
got to have a little day
yeah, they
off
had family time.
for the 4th of July.
Yeah, I'm very happy that
It always a win-win.
Yeah. And Ross had his grandkids over, and he would have been a good biblical patriarch. Me, on the other hand, I've been the black sheep of the family.
Nah, you're good.
What was that? What was that song? Goodbye, Michelle. It's hard to die.
I was a black sheep of it. Yeah.
No, I was. We had joy. We had fun. We had
Seasons in the Sun. That was the name
Sun.
of it.
Yeah.
That was 60s. That kind of
70s.
gives our age away.
No, that was 70s.
It was?
Oh, hell yeah. And it was a song that the guy had written for the Beach Boys, I believe.
Oh, really?
And they wouldn't do it. And he did it, and it became a hit.
Okay.
Another side note on that, there was a guy going around that sounded just like him and was booking himself as Terry Jacks.
Get out.
But it wasn't Terry Jacks.
That's funny.
I don't think you're going to find a Ross Nichols horrible radio guy. Looks like Ross, sounds like Ross, preaches like Ross. I don't think so. So anyways.
Well, with AI, you never know what they could do these days.
Yeah. Well, we're just going to start off with what we always do, the Shema, which we try to reflect every day of our lives. Hear, O Israel, Elohim, our Elohim. Elohim is one. And you shall love Elohim, your Elohim, with all of your heart and with all of your soul, very exceedingly. And these words, which I am commanding you today, shall be upon your heart and taught incisively to your children. And you shall speak of them when you sit in your house and as you walk along the way, and when you lie down and when you rise. You shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they will be as bands between your eyes. You shall write them on the doorframes of your house and your gates, because Elohim made a covenant with you in Horeb on the day of assembly.
Thank you. Thank you. Good reminder every week. It kind of resets our focus and our compass. And now for the uncontestable 10. I am Elohim, your Elohim, who liberated you from the land of Egypt, from a house of servitude. There shall not be to you other Elohim. You shall not make for yourselves a carved thing or any formed thing that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth below, or that is in the waters under the earth. You shall not bow to them, and you shall not serve them. I am Elohim, your Elohim. Sanctify the seventh day, and you shall cease on it, because in 6 days I made the heavens and the earth, and all that is in them. And I ceased on the seventh day. Therefore you shall also cease, you and your animal, and all that is yours. I am Elohim, your Elohim. Honor your father and your mother, thereby lengthening your days. I am Elohim, your Elohim. You shall not kill the soul of your brother. I am Elohim, your Elohim. You shall not commit adultery with the woman of your neighbor. I am Elohim, your Elohim. You shall not steal the property of your brother. I am Elohim, your Elohim. You shall not swear in my name to deceive, because I will avenge the iniquity of fathers upon children unto a third and unto a fourth for lifting my name to deceive. I am Elohim, your Elohim. You shall not respond against your brother with a testimony of deceit. I am Elohim, your Elohim. You shall not desire your neighbor's woman, his servant, his maidservant, or anything that is his. I am Elohim, your Elohim. You shall not hate your brother in your heart. I am Elohim, your Elohim.
Wow.
Very powerful.
Written like that, they have a little slightly different meaning than the King James,
tradition.
the King James version. Because that was, I used to drive around the country and I would see in rural areas mostly, on a bumper sticker it said, if it ain't KJV, it ain't Bible.
Right, I've seen that bumper sticker.
There's so many things wrong with that sentence, I don't know.
But at one point in my journey, I thought that. So
You used the word ain't?
no.
Twice?
Twice in the same sentence. No, I didn't. That's a good point.
Forgive me, Lord. I'm just there. All right, we're going to go to This Week in History. And I'm going to talk about weeping for Tammuz. So as you know, and I'm not going to go down. I mean, in the 90s, how many years ago was that? 30, 40 years ago, I went down the road of the names of the Hebrew months. And Tammuz is a Babylonian name. It's a fertility god. When the Judah was taken and Benjamin was taken to Babylon, they changed the name of the months. But if we just thought about today what Ezekiel said in chapter 8, verse 14, then he brought me to the entrance of the gate of Jehovah's house, which was toward the north. And behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. It leaked that far in. So he's being shown abominations in the temple and acts of spiritual betrayal. The commandment that says that you won't make any, idols. I feel this reminds me that people like to gravitate towards idols. I don't personally, but and we could discuss this, but other things can become your idols, right? Money can become an idol. You could say money can become an idol. All those things. But the issue is that Ezekiel clearly then presents this as pagan idolatry, highlighting how far Israel strayed from God's commandments by importing foreign rituals into the sacred place. One of the foreign rituals my mother couldn't get away from from the Catholic Church after she changed and became like us. She always had to make Easter bread, and Easter bread, is an egg-based bread that was popular, especially with Italians. And she would make it and call it something else.
Spring bread or something like that. It was spring bread.
Passover bread. Well, Passover bread has no yeast in it, Mother. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
But she would put the frosting and then the colorful sprinkles all over it. It was just so good.
Yeah.
Oh,
forgive me, Lord.
you sinned by eating that, Dave.
Oh man, I sinned for many a year. Symbolism: the woman's mourning shows the emotional and religious commitment to people had to the false gods, provoking divine anger and setting the stage for the destruction of Jerusalem. And I believe that Ezekiel's mention of Tammuz is not just historical, it's a prophetic critique exposing spiritual corruption of his time and warning of the consequences of idolatry. And idolatry certainly is something I think, if you read it, God it really does not like this, because you're putting something above him or equal to him, which is, there is no equal to the architect of the universe. If you look out in that big universe and realize how enormous it is and how big God's creation is, and that's all that we can see. It's totally mind-boggling to me, and I don't want to get into idolatry at all. And unfortunately, a lot of religion, organized religion, and official religions have very idolatrous practices. I don't want to go into them, but I stay away from them. Anyways, at the end of the day, no one can compare to the Almighty, the Elohim of Elohim, or the Yud-Heh Vav-Heh is the holy name. Anyways, we're going to now Patty's Hebrew word of the week.
Okay, we have a good one this week.
Go ahead.
I gotta go to the next slide, I think.
It's because.
Oh, it is. Okay, sorry, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, this has to be, I would say, my favorite or one of my favorite words in the Hebrew Bible. This word is hesed, and it's, most often I see it translated as mercy or loving kindness. It's a noun, masculine noun. Its definition is, like I said, loving kindness, mercy, steadfast love, loyalty, faithfulness, and goodness. It's been translated in all these different ways. The origin of the word is from the root chesed, to be kind. And the example comes from our this week's Haftarah portion, which is in Micah. And this is also one of my favorite verses in the Hebrew Bible. So I'm just going to read this Micah 6 here. With what shall I come before Jehovah when I bow before the God on high? Should I come to him with burnt offerings, with year-old calves? Would Jehovah be pleased with thousands of rams, with 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I present my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has shown you, O man, what is good. And what does Jehovah require of you but to act justly, to love mercy, chesed, and to walk humbly with your God? And I don't understand how people can read this and still insist on the necessity of animal sacrifice. It just kind of, they either ignore it intentionally or don't understand it. I'm not really sure, but this just kind of comes out, and to me, it slaps you in the face. And, so what I take away from this word, the importance of it is this word occurs 247 times in the Hebrew Bible, and more than half of these are in the Psalms. And it's also one of the characteristics of our Creator. A lot of people say, well, we don't know the Creator, we can't see the Creator, but He gives us a very succinct description of His characteristics in Exodus, where it says, and Jehovah passed by before him and proclaimed, Jehovah, Jehovah, a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger and abundant in loving kindness, chesed, and truth. So what I also took away is that this is also one of our attributes, being made in the image of God. I think it lies dormant in a lot of people right now, but I think it's there for all of us to be activated, and hopefully it will be.
That's just an amazing, one word. Think of just one word, how powerful that is.
One word, because it kind of it's been defined as loving kindness, mercy, steadfast love, loyalty, faithfulness, goodness. It kind of means all those things, it's the word is just so all encompassing. It almost doesn't translate well into English.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is one of my favorite words, and I hope you liked it.
Yeah, it's kind of like Enuma.
Oh, and I always mention Ross's class here tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Central Time. We have Will the Real Balaam Stand Up? That's not really the name of it. The Real Balaam Found Written in Red Letters. So Ross is going to discuss if he was a diviner, prophet, real historical person. And you're going to have to tune in tomorrow to find out what Ross has found.
That's great. All right. Well, we're going to get JJ up to speak right now. We're reading Proverbs 29. We're getting close to the end of Proverbs, and it's amazing that it took all those. We've read every word almost to the end now, and that should be exciting. JJ, good evening.
Hey, how are we doing? Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. That's a good way to shut a light off.
Yeah, right. Because I got the other. It's all on one circuit, so the only way to shut it off is to burn your fingertips real quick.
All right.
All righty. You ready for me to start? Go ahead and start reading.
Yes, sir.
All right. Proverbs 29 from the ASV. I'm reading 1 through 14.
Okay.
He that being often reproved hardeneth neck, shall suddenly be destroyed, and that without remedy. When the righteous are increased, the people rejoice. But when a wicked man beareth rule, the people sigh. Whoso loveth wisdom rejoiceth his father, but he that keepeth company with harlots wasteth his substance. The king by justice establisheth the land, but he that exacteth gifts overthrow it.
Hmm.
A man that flattereth his neighbor spreadeth a net for his steps. In the transgression of an evil man there is a snare, but the righteous doth sing and rejoice. The righteous taketh knowledge out of the cause of the poor. The wicked hath not understanding to know it. Scoffers set a city in flame, but wise men turn away wrath. If a wise man hath a controversy with a foolish man, whether he be angry or laugh, there will be no rest.
Hmm.
The bloodthirsty hate him that is perfect. As for the upright, they seek his life. A fool uttereth all his anger, but a wise man keepeth it back and stilleth it. Oh, I like that. If a ruler hearketh to falsehood, all his servants are wicked. The poor man and the oppressor meet together. Jehovah lighteneth the eyes of them both. The king that faithfully judgeth the poor, his throne shall be established forever.
Nicely done, JJ.
Amen.
Thank you.
There's enough to talk about just in half
Yeah,
of it.
yeah, for sure.
I'd asked Nikita to read, but I don't see her. So Patty's going to read.
Okay.
I apologize, everybody.
Okay.
Hope you're okay, Nikita.
The rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself causes shame
Oh,
to his mother.
no,
When the wicked are increased, transgression increases, but the righteous shall look upon their fall. Correct thy son, and he will give thee rest. Yes, he will give delight unto your soul. Where there is no vision, the people cast off restraint, but he that keeps the law, happy is he. A servant will not be corrected by words, for though he understand, he will not give heed. Seest thou a man that is hasty in his words? There is more hope of a fool than of him. He that delicately brings up his servant from a child shall have him become a son at the last. An angry man stirs up strife, and a wrathful man aboundeth in transgression. A man's pride shall bring him low, but he that is of a lowly spirit shall obtain honor. Whoso is partner with a thief hates his own soul. He hears the adjuration and utters nothing. The fear of man brings a snare, but whoso puts his trust in Jehovah shall be safe. Many seek the ruler's favor, but a man's judgment comes from Jehovah. An unjust man is an abomination to the righteous, and he that is upright in the way is an abomination to the wicked. So much truth in here.
this is a powerful one.
Yeah, a lot of things. We could probably talk all night about all this.
Well, JJ, you said there was one that you really liked. You kind of.
Oh yeah, where's it? I was trying to think because I didn't get a chance to read through
11,
this. Before.
11, I think it was.
Was it 11? A fool uttereth all his anger, but a wise man keepeth it back and stilleth it. Yeah, that's just. Well, that one just. I mean, when I read it, I was just like, man.
Yeah.
Because that's true. I mean, if you can't hold your anger, can't hold your tongue, because it's like I guess I just reminded that book Lincoln on Leadership. I think that came out a long time ago, where it talked about Lincoln writing letters to his generals and then packaging them up and then just setting them on his desk and never sending them. You know, because he just better just to hold it. So I kind of do that with email. I think sometimes now. Like something I'm learning to do. I was like, I'm writing that email, but it just stays in the draft folder, Yeah. Because I know that right now is not the time to send that email.
I think,
that's very smart.
There's an email. I won't get into the whole story, but I was going to tell you this.
I hope it wasn't from me.
Oh, no. It was probably 20 years ago.
It's one he wrote.
Or more. But early on in email, Patty would write whatever came into her mind and then send. And we had some, kind of, we learned really quickly you shouldn't be talking through email like that.
And texting too. And
this is way before text, but let me finish my
okay.
story because this is important and it's going to dovetail with what JJ said.
All right.
This business partner I had, well, I mean, I did so much for him and he did for me, and I won't give it away any more details, but he wrote this letter, this email was just unbelievably bad about me. And he copied everybody and their brothers and sisters, probably his grandmother. So I'm like, fire coming out of the fingertips. And then I realized, you sound just like him now. This is my first real bout with stoicism. I wrote the email over 5 times, took all the anger out of it, and just spoke truth. And I said to myself, I want to be able to look at this years from now and say it was the right thing to do. And maybe I did it a 6th time and I sent it and there was no response. But I looked at it like 12 years later and I'm going, that's a great email, Dave. You didn't give them the fire you wanted, but you spoke the truth of the matter, because people, well, they get into religion or politics or whatever, and their anger blows away the truth they might be speaking, and so that's why I think stoicism is an extremely powerful way of approaching things.
Well, in stoicism, they say that between the point of a trigger and your reaction, there's a space.
Right.
And sometimes that space is really short.
Right.
But what you want to do is increase that space, because that's where your power is.
Right.
Right there in that space.
Yes.
to make a wise decision.
Yeah. And I think that people should look at stoicism.
There's a lot of good
It's just a philosophical idea. Marcus Aurelius, of course.
Well, I think are stoicism.
They are. They're very stoic. They have stoic values before there was stoicism.
Right.
And the point is that, let it go. And, I mean, that's how fights start, and it's how wars start. And well, you killed my son. Well, I'm going to kill 2 of your sons. And then it's like, the next thing you know, they're blowing each other up for the rest of their. So we see that alive today. But that's a great thing. I'm not even going on 12 because that could start a world war. If a ruler hearkeneth to falsehood, all his servants are wicked. I'm not even going to go down that road right now. Oh my gosh! But I'm just saying it is what it is. I think it's a very truthful statement. The one
and scoffers set a city in flames. Oh my gosh!
This is true as today as it was when it was written. The other one that I hit and I noticed, the rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself causes shame to his mother. My daddy used the rod. I'm just going to tell you right now. Spoil the rod, spare the child. Well,
why is it the mother's fault?
Well, it's just their.
Were they the main disciplinarian?
No. It's the mother son, mother daughter thing.
Okay.
I felt embarrassed over what my kids did at times, and I'm sure my dad. We used to have a really good discussion about the length of my hair.
Oh, I can imagine.
And I would bring up people like Jesus. Look at Jesus' hair. I mean, I do nothing. Or look at the founding fathers of the United States. And what about Samson? And I had a lot of. Then I found out that one of the first reasons that people would cut their hair like that was because of there would be things like lice and other things. And but I wash my hair all the time, so no. I forgive me, Lord. It's just because I like it that way, and Patty likes it that way, and that's the end of it.
Any other thoughts on that one, JJ?
No, not any thought. I was just challenged by number 13. by verse 13, it just, I mean, I don't have the Hebrew or anything in front of me,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but I can just see a poor man and an oppressor meet together. You know, it doesn't mean Yehovah is going to lighten the eyes of that oppressor or that poor man, but I mean, that's what it says there. So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to, I can't, I'm working from my phone, so I can't see comments and, well, I can see comments, but I have to like move a lot around to see everything.
I think that we would have to read the Hebrew because
I can look that up. You guys keep talking.
Yeah, because that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I see Dr. Tabor's here. Hi, James. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
He's got the face of
What?
Jesus. You want to know what you know what this face is? This is the face of Uncle Jesus. My Hindu friends call me Uncle Jesus. They go, "Would you mind if we call you Uncle Jesus?" Especially when my hair was really long. And it's a love thing. Please don't. I'm not a cult leader. But I also think that you know the whole thing about the wicked people. I was thinking this is kind of against Tony Soprano. If you ever watch The Sopranos, because you know if you're hanging out with a bad person, then everyone that hangs out with you is usually bad. You know, it's really interesting that you know it kind of that you bring that karma to you. I know you probably don't want to use that word,
Association.
but yeah, you start hanging out with the wrong people, and I'm not going to go and say all the bad things I did in my life were because of bad people, but I was hanging around with the wrong group that in my teens, and I they were older than me, and there was things like drugs involved and stuff like that, and if I kept going down that road, I broke away from them, and pretty much all of them are dead or in jail, and they didn't do well in life. Let me put it that way. And so I'm glad that I didn't go down that road. But when you're, with a mob mentality like that, it gets really bad, and so I feel that. I also like the one whoso loveth wisdom rejoiceth his father. I think and his mother, right? And but he that keepeth company with harlots wasteth his substance. And it's kind of doesn't need to just even be harlots. It just could be people who are just a lot of people just want to live day to day and I don't want to say it in a bad way, but there are people that really thirst after wisdom and understanding. Some like us seek after the Almighty God the best we can. And read, and we all have different views on things in this group, but we're a collection of people that have some very common elements, and we seek after this and it's not our job. My job isn't to teach religion. It's not my job. It's not your job. We need teachers, so I don't want Dr. Tabor or Ross to get upset. You need those people, but the individual needs to seek also. It's kind of like if you take a course in a school, especially at the collegiate level or the graduate level. The teacher says, "Here's the subject. Here are my thoughts. Go look this up." And you have to seek to get the value of the class. And I think that's the same with the Bible and the history and the languages. All of that, I think, is a very important thing. So I'm just, hopefully. And I don't want to take in, the bad. I have books here that I totally disagree with, but I read them to understand the other side.
Okay, well, I think I have a kind of an answer on Proverbs 29:13.
Great.
It possibly could mean something similar to God is kind to the poor and the rich. The good, he makes his rain and sun to shine upon the good and the evil. In the same way that his how do I want to say it? But he gives light to the eyes of both.
Oh,
in the sense of that. So that's kind of how I'm reading it could be interpreted.
Squash is down here. Sasha, see her? Sasha. Yeah, she's not liking the weather. It's about 50 degrees too warm for her.
No kidding.
She's a husky, Siberian husky, and she sleeps out on the deck when it's 10 degrees or 12 degrees below zero.
So that's one interpretation, but it's open to any
Yeah,
ideas.
I mean, there'd be other people that can, as Julia says, it's a question of choice. Eric Nagel says it's a mission. Is that? Oh, well, you're not supposed to bark. You don't ever bark. It's not a barking dog.
We can, wondering if James wanted to talk about his new video on the Shroud of Turin. Is he still there?
I don't know if he just came by and gave us
A high five?
yeah, Dr. Tabor. Yeah, he's there.
Okay. Feel free to come on up and talk about it. We want to
Sacha's
hear
hot.
about it.
Yes, Julia. Sacha's hot. I don't know if James is still listening.
Okay, well, I'll...
Yeah, if you wanted to talk about it, that's good. But anyways, the other one I liked was correct thy son, and he will give thee rest. Yea, he will give thee delight unto the soul. And believe me, if you want to come up and talk, James, about your video, please do that. But the point about that is that I remember getting a call from my son, at like 3 a.m, from the police station, and you're like, man, there's no rest for me.
No rest?
He got into trouble in the state of New York, and then he went to California, got in trouble there, and when he called from the jail in Los Angeles, he said, "I'm leaving the United States." And I said, "Good luck with that, buddy." That was 20 years ago. So it's not now. But it was amazing. Let's see if I got James up there, or think he has to. He says, "I am here." There you go. Now speaker, Dr. Tay. Hey, James, Shabbat Shalom.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. It's been a long week, and I'm very grateful to have Shabbat.
So I'm in a darker room, but how do I turn the camera on? I forgot.
It's at the bottom. There's a little microphone, and there's a little camera. If you're on a Mac, at the very bottom, you'll see the camera, and you'll see the microphone.
I just see the microphone and headphones. So
It might not know where your camera is. I don't know. And Discord is a little fussy. It was made by gamers for gamers, so you kind of have to. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right. I don't need the camera on.
Okay.
So I put up a 2-hour video, which is supposed to be unwise to do, but I have this is on YouTube, but on my particular channel, as you know, I don't have fancy introductions or anything, and nothing against that. I think it's great, but I'm pretty well, go on screen, put up some notes, and talk through things rather densely. So I built a pretty good audience that wants to do that. So actually a 2-hour video is no shock to them. In fact, when I have Zoom meetings with either one of my online classes, I just finished the one on Paul. There's none currently going, but with my Patreon group, sometimes we'll meet for 3 hours like Ross does with his group, on the Sabbath tomorrow. I had to leave after about an hour, but he said they went for 3 hours.
He's amazing how he can do the big class, which is live, and then he does that.
Yeah.
He's
so
amazing.
There's to cover the Shroud of Turin. I worked on this for about 6 weeks or so, off and on, and then the last week, just constantly, because I wanted to get this video up. And it develops a theory of Dr. Nicholas Allen, who's a South African scholar. And I think he has solved the question of how the Shroud of Turin was made in the 14th century. And if you haven't kept up with it, you probably just know, oh, wait, they carbon dated that in 1988, and it was 1290 to 13, whatever.
Right.
So, why is anybody discussing it? But if you go on YouTube today or that's probably the best place to see this.
Mm-hmm.
And if you dare type in Shroud of Turin and ask for some recent videos, you'll see that people like Craig Evans, Scott Stripling, these are scholars.
Really, Scott Stripling? I'm ashamed.
Jeremiah Johnson, Dr. Jeremiah Johnson, not the preacher. He has a PhD. One of his videos has 2 million views. And the claim is that, first of all, this is a first century burial cloth of Jesus. But more than that, that it would then prove the resurrection. And the only way to explain it, because the image is not made by anything touching the cloth, which has been the big mystery. It's just on the outer surface. It's 3 or 4 micro levels of what's called the fibrils on linen. You know, linen is tubular. Like if you take a linen thread, so-called, and look at it under a microscope, it'll have like dozens of little tubes. Picture it like a cord, electric cord that's got all these things inside it.
Yeah.
And so the scorch mark, let's call it, the radiation, it is radiation, believe it or not. And the radiation mark is just on the top 3 or 4. So it's very delicate. So it can't be paint. And so what they're arguing, for lots of other reasons, they say all kinds of other things that I don't think are true, like, oh, there's pollen from the Middle East and it's only found, near Jerusalem, and that's all been debunked. But what they do say is that when Jesus was raised from the dead, I know this sounds crazy, but I mean, you've got these academics saying this. There were, I forgot the number, but it's something like so many billion units of radiation in 1 billionth of a fraction of a second released, and that burnt the image on the shroud as Jesus came up through the cloth and became, bodily resurrected and so forth.
Wow.
And if you've seen the image, it has the wounds and it has hands in the nails, hands in the feet. I mean, hands in the wrist, hands in the feet. So there's a lot to uncover. So I talk about the textile, about the only real shroud that's ever been found in Jerusalem. How does it compare? I talk about the archaeology of crucifixion that most people aren't up on. Mm-hmm. The main thing that's wrong, that I taught wrong for 30 years, because I didn't know, and no one knew. I would tell all my classes, oh, you've always seen that they put the nails in the hands. But hands is a generic term, and it can include wrists. And we now know, I would tell my class, that they were in the wrist, because if you put them in the hands, it'll pull the body forward and it'll, fall off. So this was done by a French shroud believer in 1930s. His name was Barbet, Pierre Barbet.
Uh-huh.
So this got started and it got picked up by the academic world. There's no archaeology at this point.
Yeah.
So we're all saying, oh, crucifixions through the wrist. I said it 1 million times in my classes. I need to apologize to those thousands and thousands of students I taught for 43 years because I was wrong. And I was telling them, oh, no, not the hands, the wrist. Between the radius and ulna bone, there's a little spot, and that's where they would put the nail. Oh, so you always have to ask when somebody says something. No, a little lower, David, a little lower. Feel a little hollow? No, below your palm. Feel right there. Now press hard, not too hard. Yeah, see, that was the idea. And then it wouldn't rip loose. Yeah. Well, it turns out that those bones are very delicate, and all kinds of veins are going. For your whole hand, you've got a vein system and an artery system going in there. So a lesson I learned is, because we didn't know better, and I think, well, who told me that? And you know who told me? It's like Jesus was a carpenter. Nobody told me. Like, we just know that. Like, I couldn't tell you when I heard that in college somewhere from some teacher. Then I said it. So here's the lesson. Always ask, what is the source? Right? In other words, you say nails were in the wrist. Are there literary examples where they say that? Answer, no. John Cook has done this 500-page book on every reference to crucifixion in the ancient world. And guess what? Not one reference to nails in the wrist, but nails in the hands. So I go over that in the video. But guess what happened? And I fortunately was part of it. The Abba skeleton that was found in Jerusalem. This is the last Hashmonean king, Antigonus. We actually know his name. Mark Antony, Herod the Great sent him to Antioch, and he crucified him. He beat him, crucified him, and then took him down and beheaded him. So the crucifixion was just the torture. So that's the famous Mark Antony of Cleopatra.
Wow.
This is all in my Mary book, too. I cover all this. So guess what? We have his ossuary. And guess what? In his hands are still two of the nails embedded that were from the crucifixion.
Wow.
They did that. Now, why? They're about the size of they're about half the size of what you'd call a penny nail. You know, the nails you use for 2x4s and all that, about half that size. And they weren't to hold the body up. The ropes held the forearm. The upper arm was roped for weight, and usually a rope around the chest. And then the nails were put through the hands to keep you from moving your hands back and forth. Like if you stretch your hands out horizontally and then you start moving, slowly, the ropes are going to loosen over time. So now we have crucifixion nails. So I don't know that that's a big thing, but it would show you that the Turin shroud is wrong, and why it puts them in the wrist, I'm not sure. Anyway, I cover all that. You know about the nail went through the heel bone, not through. We have 3 examples of that now, one from the UK, one from Italy, and one from Israel. But the big reveal is how was it made? And the way it was made was a process that if you know what a pinhole camera is. Anybody make a pinhole camera in school growing up? You know what it is. So if you take a candle, take a shoebox, put a pinhole in it, and have a little peek hole, you know how it'll make the image of the candle upside down. It's called a camera obscura. Camera means room in Latin, and obscura means dark. It's a dark room. So Nicholas Allen set this up full scale. He in a building with a little hole and a small lens that was available in the 14th century. And he got a perfectly projected image he used a plaster statue. He didn't use a cadaver. The shroud was made from a cadaver, for sure. It's too realistic. And he got amazing results. If you look at my video, you'll be blown away. And you check the properties of the images he made, identical to the shroud. So it was made by ultraviolet light.
Wow.
But it was made by the sun. And the reason it's 3D is the sun passes over in an arc, you see. And so different angles fill the whole image. And apparently this was figured out by somebody in the 1400s. Not photography.
Right.
If you put a piece of linen out in the sun, take a plate of glass, draw a marker on it, just draw a little design. Draw a Star of David in black ink. Put it out for about 4 hours, bring your linen in, and guess what? You'll see the mark on the linen. You've seen it on your curtains sometimes. You go, oh my God, look, there's a mark on the curtains. We don't want that. We don't want a piece of furniture. So the reason I wanted to do this is I couldn't believe these people are going on YouTube, people I know, people I've dug with, in one case, like Craig Evans. He's an evangelical, and I don't agree with a lot of his ideas, but he is a scholar, a legitimate scholar. You remember him, he came to our Mount Zion dig, David. And
yeah, I remember him.
And he he just, he said, beyond any shadow of a doubt, this is the
Oh
shroud
my
of
God.
Jesus.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Now, what they
That's-
say is the carbon dating, you know how that is. If the carbon dating doesn't come out like you want, what do you say? Oh, it was
doesn't work.
contaminated. It
Yeah.
wasn't done right. It was taken from the wrong sample. And yet it was done at 3 independent labs, blind tested and so forth. So I go through all that, 2 hours. And I'm hoping it'll get picked up a bit because there's so many people that are listening to this. And to them, it is proving Christianity.
Oh man.
They actually base their faith on it.
Yeah.
That if Jesus didn't come bodily out of the tomb, understanding resurrection purely as resuscitation of a corpse.
Yeah.
So, and I go through texts, I go through biblical texts and so forth. But
I'm glad you did it because, I mean, I knew a long time. I just looked at it and said, that ain't no damn Jesus I know.
yeah, well, it is hard to explain the properties. Now they come up with all these other things about. I cover it all in the video. I won't go over it.
Well,
now,
you know,
but
a lot
I think if you watch it, you'll. Ronnie put carpal tunnel. Yeah, it is kind of the carpal tunnel. It's actually. My dog is barking. I don't know if you can hear, but
is that? Hello, Eden.
Eden, come here. I usually tell her that that's good when she barks, but somebody's outside, I think.
My huskies being from Siberia, I say "niet."
Yeah.
The deal is too is that a lot of creationists that think the world is 6,000 years old or whatever the Bible says, and if there's anyone listening now, don't be offended, but I certainly don't believe that for a long time. That's why they say carbon dating can't work, which, you know, they never bring the science into it. We know the periodic elements, we know the table, we know how carbon half-life of carbon. It's very measurable. It's like measuring how long is this phone, and they bring that up, and it kind of makes me like anything else they're going to say. It bothers me that you went for that lie. Like there's other lies that I could accept a little more from you, but not that one. And
no, these scientists that are raising the carbon questions, of course, they don't believe anything like that. They accept carbon dating. Eisenman did the same thing when he wanted the Dead Sea Scrolls to come out first century, remember?
Oh yeah.
So Greg Doudna did a bunch of tests and they came out first century BC, which they are. I think there's one that's first century. Maybe the Habakkuk Pesher, I can't remember. But none of the scrolls mention Herod the Great. And the last figure they mention is Pompey. Wow. So you can pretty well go by that. I mean, how could you wouldn't record the 100 years of history and not mention Herod the Great? Are you kidding? He was just so dominant. So probably, but what everybody, Eisenman and some of his supporters, oh, well, the tests were contaminated. So what I reveal in the video, which you know, David, already, is when we found the Tomb of the Shroud in 2000 that does have a burial shroud, I sent it to Tucson, and I just picked that lab because I knew about it here in the United States. It's a paleo DNA lab, carbon-14 lab in Tucson, Arizona, the CMS lab. And Doug Donahue got it. I didn't know him, and he gave me the results in about a month. And he said, and it was first century, so we proved that. Josiah said, when we found it, he said, if that's first century, I'll eat my hat. And, Joe has a plastic hat because he's a biker. So he's talking about his plastic biking hat. Well, he agrees. He understands now that it is, but nobody could believe it. He said, they use those tombs later. Probably a Byzantine monk. It's probably a crusader. That I guarantee you it's not first century. Well, it is. It's 2,000 years old. So the place to start is we have a 2,000-year-old scroll. We have a heel bone with nails in it. We have hands with nails in. So let's look at the shroud and see if it conforms to what we know, like the weave, all that. And it doesn't.
You meant a 2,000-year-old shroud.
Yeah. So what the Turin shroud, yeah. That's only, I don't know.
No, I meant, but you found a 2,000-year-old shroud.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So Doug Donahue wrote at the bottom. This is in my presentation and also the videos in my previous YouTube I did. He says, the people of the Shroud of Turin days would certainly have been thrilled to receive this result. And I thought of that. And I thought, imagine if they had received this result, it would be over. Nobody would go, see, if you get what you want, you don't go, but I think the sample was contaminated, or, carbon-14 is not good. But if you got first century, it's perfect. We know now it's first century.
Yeah.
But I don't think it is anyway.
It's sad, but it's good that you put this out, James, because here's the thing, as a casual observer of these things, because I could care less about any shrouds. I mean, in my life, it's not important. But, I remember when they did the carbon dating and they said, it was, in the 1400s. And then all of a sudden, like maybe it's a couple of years ago, James, you started seeing these, you started seeing these videos saying, "Oh no, the shroud." And I thought, "Are you smoking crack? How are you?" And then I think even famous influencers, like what's that Mormon influencer, Jeff? I'm sorry. He got kicked off of Fox News. Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck. I think he even did that.
Yeah, quite a few people have. But the reason it got revived was in 2022.
Yeah.
They did a new test with what's called wide angle X-ray, WAX.
Okay. Yeah.
And it did show it to be first century. But if you read the article, and I go through it in the video, at the bottom, at the end, it says, well, there's one caveat. This data will only hold true if the artifact was kept at 73 degrees Fahrenheit, never more than 74 degrees at 55% humidity.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
For 1,600 years.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah.
Okay, I'll really go by that then.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's
sad, really.
But if you watch, there's a video. I could, after I'm through talking, I'll put it up for people. I shouldn't put it up. You might be convinced the shroud's real, but I don't think you will. But I want you to see how powerfully they're presenting this and getting millions of views. And the reason I know about it is one of my Christian friends wrote me.
Yeah.
About 6 weeks ago, and that's why I started looking into it. I thought, what's going on? And I saw all these videos. You can go on YouTube.
It's insane how many
it's all new, and they're giving all this stuff and going over it. And I slowly began to see that every point after point, there's probably like 15 or 20 points, and they're all wrong. They're not right. I'll give you another example. They say now the whip marks are exactly the length of the Roman whip. You know how the bits of
stop.
And then they hold up a model of a Roman whip. They say, here's a model of a Roman whip. Notice it's exactly the length of these lashes. So how would a forger know that? Well, then we find out, because I did a little research, there is no surviving Roman whip. They didn't make it from an artifact of a real Roman whip. They made it from the shroud. In other words,
that is the
confirmation bias. And so I have a slide at the end that says the problem with shroud apologies or apologetics is that the shroud drives the data, not the data the shroud. I mean, this is an axiom in your field.
Yeah, it is.
And so what do? You go, okay, crucifixion was in the wrist because the shroud's on the wrist. It wasn't the hands. Well, Greek is one of the richest languages vocabulary.
Yeah.
Not only do they have words for hand, wrist, forearm, they have even words for the forearm, breaking it down even further, that aren't medical terms. So hand is hand, and now we know that the nails were in the hand, not the wrist.
Wow.
And on it goes with these claims that are made that are bogus. So if you look at the comments on the, comments on the video, hold on a sec.
Yeah.
You know what? I knew this would happen. They don't watch the video. That's YouTube, right?
Yeah.
They immediately say, Dr. Tabor doesn't know anything about this because they found pollen from the 1st century, which I fully address in the video. All the other things I address, they start writing again because they just saw it somewhere or went to a preacher giving a lecture at their church.
Yeah.
And look, poor Dr. Tabor, I wish he would study and know these things. But they're not.
You poor ignorant man.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
It's just the way people are. But
My question
go ahead.
is,
You were going to make a point.
this question is always evaded me, and I just didn't care enough to search it, and that is, okay, you found a 1st century shroud. Let's say you did. How do you identify that with one Yeshua ben David? How did that happen?
Well, they're doing that by the fact he has a wound in his side, crucifixion marks, crown of thorns, and all that. So,
I see. So but there's no one that said this was taken from a tomb. This the royal. Okay, so it's
so they would say it was from Jesus' tomb, but there's no provenance from the 1st century to the.
That's what I mean. Yeah, there's no provenance.
Nothing.
But it's circumstantial evidence. I did have a bloody knife in my hand, and it had Patty's blood on it, but it doesn't mean that I killed her. Because no one saw me. I'm just saying, at what point?
Well, if you watch one of the videos, you'll see how the average person would be convinced and just blown away by it.
Yeah.
So that's what put me into action. And I have all these other projects. I put them aside, particularly this week. And I worked on it this week, probably about 40 hours, because I wanted to get it out, and I got it out this morning.
Didn't you retire, James?
But this is important. So I'm going to put up a video for this group, and it's actually going to defend the shroud. It's only about 30 minutes. It's by a British guy. And the guy he's interviewing claims to have studied the shroud 50 years. And you're going to see why someone would fall for this and get really, really convinced. Because if you don't know about it, it sounds right.
Wow.
So I'll put that in the chat.
Thank you.
Now, be sure if you watch that, you go and watch mine where you see why it's wrong. I don't want to make it.
I'll be going back to the Catholic Church. One other thing. So the Mary book is still coming out in September, correct?
That's right. September 30th. And
that hasn't been delayed because of what you're doing.
Oh, no, that's done. It's waiting. Okay. They put it there because of they want to cruise into the Thanksgiving Christmas market, of course.
Yeah, no. I mean, you might not be.
Done. And then the other book is out, Restoring Abrahamic Faith, the new edition. And if you have the old one, I'm not just trying to sell books here, but I hope you'll get the new one. If you like the old one, get the new one because you're going to like it a lot better. And it includes the Moses Scroll and a lot of other things. It's updated. Remember, I wrote that one in 2008. That's quite a while ago. So
and I got to say, you referenced my paper in there, James. You referenced my paper. It's on page 24.
I certainly did, and I hope it.
It's on page 24. Sorry. Forgive me. James and I talk about kind of really deep things like the antenna of the soul, but it was a paper that I was writing, and so I really do like that. So you have those two books out, and then you're going to do the cruise, and is that in September too?
Yeah, that's right before, and then Bart Ehrman has his conference, and that's actually the last day of the cruise. I'll do it from Athens, It is 10 New Testament scholars, all talking about something new they've learned from the Gospels. And I'm fortunate to be one of the 10.
Oh.
And it's kind of a who's who of New Testament studies. So it's kind of an honor to be asked.
Yeah.
I've done it 3 years in a row now. And that draws about 5,000 people. So that's kind of nice.
And in Athens, it's going to be in Athens?
No, I will do it from Athens because it's online. No, it's all online. I'll send you guys. I'll post it.
Okay.
I'll post it here, and I'll also post the pro shroud video if everybody promises not to get converted by a lie. So,
yeah,
I don't think any of you will, but it can be convincing when you watch it.
Well,
But my main project right now, I mean, other than writing, traveling, speaking, filming, I'm going to Israel in August. We're going to open the Talpiot tomb again. And then we're also going to, I'm going to begin taking DNA samples from ossuaries because we figured out we don't need bones. In the bottom of an ossuary, there's enough residue from the person with the new sequencing DNA. They call it dirt DNA. It's being used even in caves. You can take a prehistoric cave and just collect dirt. You don't have to have bones. Yeah. And there'll be organic material you can sequence. Yeah. So we're going to do the James ossuary. We're going to do several priestly ossuaries. So we'll have the Kohanim, probably even get the Y chromosome. The tests are getting so good now. So while I'm in Israel, that'll be part of what I'm doing. And
what are your dates there? Or you can just send them to me later because I have to go to Israel for a much more unfortunately solemn reason, but it might be August.
The week I'll be there would be August 5th through about that Sunday 10th or so. It's real quick for me. I've got to get back.
Okay.
And we're not going. We're opening the Talpiot tomb, the Jesus tomb. We're not going in it. We're going to photograph. We're not ready. We don't need to go in it at this point.
With Simcha?
Yeah, of course. Yes. Only Simcha can do this. You know why? He can get the license from the IA because he's best friends with Yuval Goren, who runs the IA pretty much. Okay. And he can get the Orthodox because he goes and talks to the rabbis and says, hey, the tomb's empty. Let us go in. We're not defiling. And he talks them into it. And then he has to buy off the neighbors to let us cause a disruption.
I remember that. Yeah.
With drills and but he says he's got it all set up. So hey,
anyone can be bought with enough money.
He thinks there's an image. Everybody's seen the image of the chevron with the circle, right. But he thinks that there's more there, and he's going to do high resolution RTI photography.
Oh, great.
Because he thinks it's eroded and there's actually more there. So that's actually the purpose of it.
Wow.
So it's kind of a Geraldo thing. I don't think there is. And I told him, you're going to be like Geraldo.
Yeah. Open it.
The Al Capone thing.
Yeah, Al Capone.
Most of our group here will remember that because some of us are old enough to remember it. And you're going to have it all excited, and we're going in, and there it is. And it's nothing. Or Tabor will be wrong. So he wants me there to make my skeptical comments before they do it. And then afterwards,
Wow. He's setting you up, James. He's setting you up. Or he's going to look like the fool.
Whoever is right, but no, I don't. He thinks there's a dolphin. So that's something to do with Artemis. His book on.
Yeah, I know.
Gospel. Yeah. So
he's.
I'm not a fan of that book, but
I'm not either. But he's still our brother.
But I like everything else he's doing. So.
And when you go to his house on Shabbat, you truly feel welcome. And
you come away a different person.
Yeah, it was.
That's the one book of his I don't.
Me
buy,
too.
But it's still worth reading because he has all the history of Tiberius's reign and Sejanus and all those things that people need to know about. So.
Yeah, I sometimes we have these smart people that create solutions. and then they got to find a problem that the solution will work on.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of that in there, you know. I know this is what it must be, and the one thing I guess in my own, you know, reading, and again, I'm just a layperson in this area, but I don't think the Jesus movement could have gotten as huge as it did if they just made him up. I think he had to be a real person, and you know,
absolutely, yeah.
how big it got, how quickly it got that big. To me, tells me that there was a real person, and I don't think they just made up all these stories. And then if you read, you know, like the Sermon on the Mount, you realize that was kind of his view of the Torah or something like that, his Mishnah. But my point is, at the end of the day, people kind of say, well, Jesus couldn't have existed, so therefore, you know, or it's like they do with Moses. Moses didn't exist, the Exodus didn't happen, but unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff, you know, there's a lot of it, there's a lot of proof. I went to the Exodus 2 conference, and if you look in the right time frame, that's the problem. You're not looking at the right time. So,
Right.
Well, I've got to go, you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
But I'm going to put, I already put my video, but I'm going to put one more by this guy, John Campbell. And he's actually, I'm giving you a guy that I like. And he has 2 million views, and he thinks the shroud is valid, that it is and he gives all the scientific reasons. And that would give you the other side of what I'm responding to. And that, you know, it's fair to hear. I think if you watch it, though, you will be impressed with the case they can make. Scientifically, it's just that a lot of what they assert is actually not it's not the case.
Charles is asking.
So
yeah, all right.
Can you ask?
Yeah. Hang on one second, James.
We have a question from Charles. Says, who's guessing inaccurately, James or Simca?
Well, we don't know.
Who's guessing? Oh, well.
Well, we have to let the results come out.
Well, there is something on the front, but I think it's a shadow, and he thinks it's an image.
Yeah.
But we can also take photos inside the tomb without going in, because we don't have any high resolution photos, and there are some inscriptions. In fact, there are 2 crosses, and whether they're ancient or modern, it's odd. It's a Jewish neighborhood. Why would you put a cross inside? And it's been sealed for 30 years. So I don't really know, but we'll also be able to take photos. So
fantastic, James.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Shabbat shalom. Well, we had Dr. Tabor there for y'all, so I didn't know.
That was awesome.
Yeah, James. We've been to Israel with James many times. We were welcomed into Israel. The second time we went to Israel, we met James there. The first time it was business. And we came in the second time, and James is waiting at the airport, which, you know, that's such a cool thing. And
that was like what a way to experience Israel.
Oh, yeah. And,
you know, to have that kind of welcome. It was just like.
And then we went to Simca's house for Shabbat, and
it
was truly a beautiful thing. And we met Simca's mother.
Yes, beautiful.
Who was supposed to be killed in the Holocaust, and she didn't. Gosh. And Patty would sing songs, and she said, "Can you sing Secret Agent Man?"
And he did, Simca did.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
No, but she wanted you to sing it.
No, but I could sing the chorus.
It was funny. It was just a beautiful thing. And we watched his children grow up, and now they're, you know, some are in the IDF. They're doing all kinds of things. And his beautiful wife too. She's an amazing lady. And we actually put on you remember we helped put on the discussion in Tel Aviv. What was that? Remember we went to that place and we helped put on a conference.
My memory is failing me
Yeah.
about that one.
Yeah, you remember that though, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
And
It was very small, informal.
but it was the brilliant people that came.
Yeah, yeah. It was really good.
I'm trying to think of what that was.
Well,
and
maybe by the time next Shabbat.
Talpio
comes around,
Tomb.
we'll
Ross is saying
remember.
Talpio Tomb. Ross is he's got those 10 years on me. Younger. Thank you, Ross. Yeah, it was so many things that we've done. It's hard to go back and remember it all. You know, I mean, this is just some thoughts I've had over the last couple of weeks. One of them is, when you first go to Israel and you go to Jerusalem, it's the big deal. But then by the time you get out into the desert, you realize how much of the Bible happened here.
Right.
I mean, wow. It's really where most of the Bible happened. A lot happened in Jerusalem, but when you go to, En Gedi and see how beautiful that was, and then we go down to Eravot and we went to Paran and
Messiah.
the Scorpion's Ascent, and Ross lived there for I think almost 90 days. And to me it was fascinating, just because it's the real history you can touch. And I think it also, here's something that stuns me. There's Dr. Tabor, put it up. Dr. John Campbell. Oh my God. I like Dr. Campbell. Oh no, he's a believer. Okay. Anyway, stop. Please forgive me. But it's like, you don't realize how small that whole country is, and how much of this Bible is written, within a 150-mile radius. Most of the Bible
took place in that small area.
I mean, people don't realize this. The Civil War, right? If you took a 150-mile radius of Washington, D.C., that's most of the war. Yes, there was wars elsewhere in the Civil War, but most of it happened right around fighting for the capital. It's those kinds of things. Anyways, I'd like to kind of just summarize the Proverbs and I'll put this up with the correct date. Thank you, Julia B. Chapter 29, moral and immoral behavior in personal, social, and political life. It contrasts righteous leadership, which brings stability and joy, with corrupt rulers who oppress the people. Discipline, both in parenting and in self-governance, is highlighted as an essential for wisdom. While unrestrained speech and stubbornness lead to ruin. The chapter warns against flattery, bribes, and quick-tempered actions, and it stresses that justice upholds society. Ultimately, it affirms that trusting in the Almighty brings true safety, while fear of others traps the soul. And it's a lot of good
stuff
words.
there.
Yeah. Yes. All right. We're gonna wrap it up with our prayer, and see you tomorrow, 10:30 Central, 11:30 Eastern. And do you remember the name of Ross's class?
Yes, it's about finding the real Balaam.
Finding the real Balaam. That'd be Mr. Ross K. Nichols. And then I'm sure he's having an after class. There it is right there. Thank you, Ross.
Thank you, Ross.
Okay. May the Most High bless you and keep you. The Most High make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. May the Most High turn his face towards you and give you peace.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Good night. Laila Tov.
Love you all.